Can you take us back to your early days of music and your earliest memories of playing music?
Well, I'm very unusual in a sense that I moved to Dublin from Belfast when I was 8 years of age and had spent most of the time for speech and drama, not so much music. And when I got to Dublin, I studied piano in school. And then I decided I wanted to be a ballet dancer. And they were offering lessons in ballet. They were going to start a ballet class at the Royal Irish Academy of Music. And so I went in, and my mother waited outside. She said, find out about it. And the lady at the desk said, well, what instrument are you studying? And I couldn't move from piano. And the phone rang. She lifted the phone. I looked down the list, closed my eyes, and went. When she came back, she said, your instrument? I went, harp. And that's how I chose to do harp.
That's amazing.
And my mother was brought in. She said, bring your mother, we'll go up to the harp room. So my mother thought she was going to come into a room with bars and people doing plays. And there was nothing. She was in a harp room with Grania Yates. And Grania was my first harp teacher. I drove her mad because I really didn't have a harp, and it was only at the end. And then she left after a year. I had another harp teacher, Elizabeth Hannon, who had great psychology and bribed me with chocolate biscuits, so that had a better effect. And then from the academy, I went to what was then the College of Music, and I studied with Grania's daughter, Katrina Yates, who subsequently became the principal harpist in Denmark, in the radio orchestra there. And from there, I went to London and I studied with a Russian teacher. I must say, very daunting, the old school, and very difficult, but a brilliant teacher, and brilliant at not only technique, but the how to learn music. She really taught me how to sit down and be focused and to learn quickly, the sort of important things, apart from the musicality or anything. But she would end her lessons of maybe 2 hours by saying, we go downstairs and we have a glass of whiskey. And I was relatively young at that stage. I just, was in the middle of Trinity. But because I went to Trinity University at the same time. But in fact, it was a really amazing experience. And at the same time, I was studying composition at the Guildhall and conducting, and the Guildhall School of Music in London. And I actually ended up going to Sidonie Goosens, who was the harp teacher there, who was the principal harpist in the BBC Symphony Orchestra. And it was completely different teaching. It was, Sidonie was quite English, my gals. She looked after her students, very English in approach, but she was a really lovely teacher. And that was a really good experience. But Maria Kaczynska, it was a different school of playing, and it really has kept me, that Russian school. It's what I really love. I've picked up other schools, the good bits of other schools, but I really do love the Russian school. And from Sidonie, when I came back to Ireland, I then had a sort of scholarship to the Brussels Conservatoire, and I commuted from Ireland, but I had to earn some money, so I became a teacher here.
And was there a point in your young life when you were learning harp that you decided, oh, that's it, I'm going to be a
Oh,
harp?
absolutely, without a doubt. And even I can actually say that, hand on heart, would have been halfway through school, maybe what was fourth year, like the equivalent of the junior cert, but it was in fourth year. And the school knew that I was heading for music. I just loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved all the musical schools. I loved the whole lifestyle of entering a college of music, going into it, meeting friends. My student became my sister-in-law. I married her brother when I was at the academy. The student who was before me for my harp lesson became my sister-in-law. She ended up marrying my brother. So, I have so many harpists anyway. But in fact, I never thought that you would go through your college, as an ordinary student, as a young, sort of 15, 16, and end up knowing your future in-laws. That was like a personal point of view. But I just thought it was so exciting, you know, and I studied singing when I was younger, and I thought that probably was the greatest thing I did. I thought, you know, you're a wind player, you know, you're used to blowing. Pianists, harpists, we are used to just, you know, moving our fingers. Violinists are used to bowing, which it makes you phrase in certain ways. But when you sing, you're breathing as you do. And I've tried to get all my students to sing. I think I'm probably notorious, infamous, for singing a lot as a teacher. I think everybody knows this from my room. So I actually sing all the time, and I think really was one of the best things I did. I'd encourage everybody to sing after COVID. But I would love, that's my big disappointment, you know, because I think it's such an education.
It is, yeah. So when you came back to Ireland, can you tell us a little bit about what happened next?
Well, I was asked back by Professor Fleischmann out of Cork University, and he was the conductor of the Cork Symphony Orchestra who played for the Irish Ballet. And after I had played in the ballet company, he asked me would I be very interested in staying on in Cork. So I ended up, in fact, teaching in Cork School of Music. I was there for quite some, you know, maybe a year and a half, and was on the train one night on my way home, met a gentleman there, and that was to be my father-in-law, because within 6 months of that meeting, the teacher in the Royal Irish Academy died. I was appointed as the teacher, and I ended up marrying his son because his daughter was my student. And we all remembered this afterwards. You know, we realised that I'd met him on the train. It was a bizarre coincidence. So I ended up in the academy. I then started playing in the symphony orchestra, freelancing both as principal and as second harp with Sheila Larty Cuthbert and then with the lovely Andrea Mallert. Into the concert orchestra I played, and then as a soloist with all. And then I decided to give up all teaching and go just to play. So I actually gave up all teaching as such, just to go as a player and perform. And I freelanced then up to the Ulster Orchestra, and Bryden Thompson was conducting at the stage, and I had an amazing time up there. It was utterly brilliant. But I then ended up teaching in the Belfast School of Music. So I actually have taught in Cork, in Dublin, in Belfast, back again to Dublin, and then I was appointed to what was then DIT as a part-time teacher, and then they amalgamated concert harp and Irish harp and made one full job, and this is the one permanent job in the country for harp teaching.
It was interesting what you said about your teacher who used to bring you downstairs afterwards and you know, entertain you.
Yeah.
I've heard that about you from some Erasmus students who you really take care of them when they come.
Oh, they came to stay with me. In fact, they ended up living with me, and that's the other side of my life. I mean, I lecture in concert harp, Irish harp. We have an ensemble as well, but I also am the international coordinator for the college, and that has been a revelation. I am an Erasmus junkie. We've had students, last year we had Romania. We had like 3 string players together, which was fantastic. We've had cellists from Sweden, Norway. We're about to have Bordeaux, we're on to our second student. We have one coming in from Lucca, Italy, Spain. We've had a trumpeter from Spain. And yes, I do. I love them all. And we do keep in contact. The Polish pianist we had was fantastic. She's a brilliant artist, and in fact has ended up, that is her main thing now. She's becoming an artist in Poland when she went back. But she actually painted my dogs, you know, as her farewell present. So I just think, I love all my students, and I love all the Erasmus students. Fantastic.
You don't mind me saying that you are going to retire
I
soon.
am. I am retiring next
Yeah.
June. I stayed on for many reasons, but I'm pleased because with COVID and everything, and I also wanted to see Grange Gorman.
So I was wondering, if it's lovely that you're going to be at the end of your teaching career here, officially going to Grange Gorman. So I wondered, what changes have you seen over your time here at the school?
Standard, straight off. I just think it's a fantastic standard. And I love to watch the young ones. I often go just to the junior concerts, apart from teaching juniors myself, but I often just go to listen to piano or to the violinists or, just to hear the standard. And the fantastic thing from my point of view is watching them come in very young, and watching their development. It is just the most amazing thing to have. My colleague, Cleana, started with me when she was 12. And so I have known her and her family since that time. And I have just known them personally the whole way through. But to watch the development and to go from little Cleana to Professor Cleana, that is an amazing thing to watch. Geraldine O'Doherty in the concert orchestra, I could just keep going through all the students, just the sheer development. And it's just not my students. It's everybody's students. And for me to watch my colleagues, I'm very, very close with a lot of colleagues, and just to watch them develop themselves. We all develop. Every day is a learning day. But to watch their students, and, you almost feel a sense of pride just watching them with their students. It's just brilliant. So the standard. And I suppose everything's become sort of more modern, and very into technology. And of course, we were an institute of technology, and we're a technological university now. So, the fact when we go to Grange Gorman, we're going to have, the recording suites, and, I just think it's going to be fantastic. TV, ready.
And you mentioned your colleagues. I always, anytime I go down to Chatham Row, there's a great sense of camaraderie.
Oh, it's
and
brilliant.
You're always in the middle of it, Denise.
Well, maybe I should be teaching. I know it is. There is a great friendship, I would say, between us all. And we bounce off. It's something I hope will never be lost. It's a thing when you go into a staff room like that, and you might say, do you know that work? Wouldn't that be... And the next minute you have an entire concert planned because somebody just came up with an idea. And it's the sort of thing you do over lunch or you can do a lot on Zoom, you can do a lot at your meetings, but sometimes the most spontaneous ideas are fantastic and they just take off. It's brilliant.
I want to ask you also about the harp in Ireland, because you have been very involved in all things harp in Ireland throughout your career. As a player and arranger, composer, singer, obviously.
Well.
But tell me, I think my impression of it is that the harp scene, for want of a better word, in Ireland is incredibly healthy, and it is our national instrument.
It is, but in saying so, before I say how healthy it is, I have to mention people like Sheila Larche Cuthbert and Mercedes Garvey, Grania Yates, those who kept it going, even Sion Hill, who kept the idea of music, harp music going, when it wasn't particularly fashionable. It was hard going. Sheila's much more of the classical, but she plays both instruments like I do. And they set it up and allowed everybody to take wings after that. They kept going. We were very lucky. We had the World Harp Congress here in Ireland, 1,000 harpists from all over the world, most of whom were speaking to each other. That was fantastic. And it was an amazing experience to organise. Would I want to do it again? Not so sure. But we had a tremendous board. A group of us worked together. We all got on very well from different sides of harping. Harpers, harpists, classical harpists, and also those who play the traditional.
For a young person who's considering a career in music? Have you any advice for them?
When you go into music nowadays, you must learn to be versatile. And that is from very young age, you must learn how to be versatile. You know, you must be able to think outside the box and see where there's a little gap of something that might be missing that you can slide into. And all students, whether they're 16 or 26, all have to learn, even young ones. You know, think something different. You know, at 16, I was organising concerts with my future sister-in-law in the academy. We just did. And it's the same here. You just learn your craft in every sense. It's very important.
And the last question I want to ask you, this is a tricky one now, but if you had to pick a career highlight to date, what do you think it would be?
Various things. I played a lot for the various presidents in our Snugtron. From, I have to say, as a very young child, very, very young, I emphasise, for President De Valera, right up to President Higgins now. Played a lot for Mary McAleese, President Mary McAleese, when she was there. And particularly, I suppose you'd have to say, for the Queen's visit. It was such a unique occasion. It was the most amazing occasion. And I put together, at the request of the Oras, 8 harpists, colleagues of ours, and 8 to play together at the private lunch before the real razzmatazz. So we actually had the Queen coming in to the door of our Snugthrone, and we were watching down. Then she stayed on for lunch, and we played a little concert at the end of the lunch. And that was the first time. And then I played for the state dinner, but that was the first time. That whole experience was amazing. You know, to be in Ars Nocturne and to hear the British national anthem outside and the Irish, you know, it was a unique occasion.
I get the sense that you're a very proud teacher, that you're very proud and supportive of all your students.
Yeah, I adore my students.
Yeah, and they adore you, I think.
Yeah, but you know, I've never really taught students I didn't like. If I thought that there was going to be, and nothing wrong with the student or with me, but that, you know, people gel, I might, you know, swap or move on or suggest something. But generally, yeah, I've been blessed. In every sense. I've been blessed with my career. I just think it's fantastic. One little thing I would say, a lot of people will say people teach because they have to. And I've never thought of it like that. I teach because I really love it. I truly love, I mean, I'm not just saying it because I'm on camera. I actually truly love singing, or love teaching. I love singing as well, but I love teaching. And I was ill maybe 10 years ago, and I was on chemo. And I think my doctor had to write in that I had to be allowed to teach maybe 2 hours a week for my mental health, because I had to teach. I missed it so much. And that was in itself, I didn't miss the playing. At that stage in my life, I didn't. But I truly miss my teaching. And it was a real wake-up lesson, just how much teaching meant to me. I do it because I really love it. I love the development. I love everything about it.
Somehow I think that retirement isn't going to stop you teaching.
No, I'd love to stay involved. I wouldn't like to, you know, I don't want to breathe down anybody's neck. I'm leaving all my concert harp music behind me. That's the one thing I've made the decision. I have a huge amount of music. So I said to Clean, I'll leave it behind. So that really sort of, I'll make a break. There comes a time, there are lots of young players, young, brilliant teachers, some really brilliant teachers around. It would be lovely to see. And, you know, you can even see as the new blood comes in. I'm thinking the guitars as well, you know, where we have Marco Ramelli for guitar, and he's just fun. I could go from, you know, all through the staff. It's just amazing. The younger players coming in and the younger teachers, just fantastic. what an amazing... If any students are listening to this, think of pedagogy. It's a great career. Fantastic.